Hi, welcome to our daily encounter. Today we want to focus on Leah and her experience with Jacob. We're going to borrow a little bit from yesterday's reading in the very last part of chapter 29, where it talks about the fact that Leah was basically unloved by Jacob. Rachel was the woman that Jacob really wanted to marry, and he ended up with Leah by the deception of Laban. And Leah had to experience being married to a person who really didn't want to be married to her. And so I want to kind of focus and zero in on that today in our devotion, because as we all know, one of the hardest experiences in life is to be rejected. And even worse than that is to be rejected by someone that you care about. All of us have experienced rejection by someone we cared about in our lives. It might have been something as maybe silly as, well, I was rejected by the cool kids in high school. I really wanted to be a part of the in crowd, but I wasn't cool enough, so I was rejected by them. Or it might have been that girl that you liked, or that guy that you liked, and they did not return that back to you. And you know how that feels to like someone who doesn't like you. Some people, or it could be an even more serious situation than that. Maybe being rejected by a family member, or being rejected by a spouse. There can be some very serious also experiences of this. And so it does have great importance to us. There's some that are in this situation now. There are some of you probably listening to this video that are being rejected either by a friend. You're expressing love for a friend, devotion to a friend, and that love and devotion is not being returned. Maybe you're in a similar situation with Leah. Maybe you're married to a spouse who doesn't return your care and your affection and your love. It may be that they don't necessarily treat you harshly. We don't see anything where Jacob treated Leah harshly. It's just that you know that they are not returning the love that you are giving to them. And that can be a very, very difficult, heartbreaking experience. And because of this, because it is such a heartbreaking experience, a lot of people live in the fear of rejection. They feel like they always have to have everybody's approval, and that if they give people their love and affection, they want to make sure that that is returned. So this becomes a very real situation for a lot of people, even living today. Twice in the scriptures so far in the book of Genesis, we've seen a woman being rejected. If you remember, a few chapters back, we saw Hagar being rejected by her mistress, being rejected by Sarah. And she got basically thrown out into the wilderness 2 times. It's very revealing to see what it was that brought Hagar comfort. In the first experience, in chapter 16 and verse 13, she really zeroed in on a God who sees, because God did see her affliction. He saw that she was rejected. He prophesied some things about her son Ishmael, and she walks away saying, this is a God who sees. He knows what I'm going through. And then later on, after Isaac is born, she's rejected again and thrown out into the wilderness. And her and Ishmael are about to die. They have no more water to drink, no more food, and they're just basically sitting there waiting to die. And God opens her eyes, and she sees a well, and she's able to drink of that well. And one of the things that is revealed to her in that experience is that God is a God who hears, because God said that he had heard the cries of Ishmael, and he answered those cries. And so she could take comfort in the fact that she had experienced a God who sees and a God who hears. Fast forward to the story about Leah, and you see the same thing. in the latter part of chapter 29, she is rejected by Jacob and unloved by Jacob. And God is merciful to her, and he sees what she's going through, and he allows her to have children, even though Rachel was unable to. And it's very revealing, the names that she gives to her children. The first one that she gives was Reuben, which means sees, because she knew that the Lord had seen her affliction. The second one was found in 22 in verse 33, and this had to do with God being able to hear her voice, and she named him Simeon, which means to hear. And so she took comfort in the fact that God was a God who saw what she was going through and a God who heard her cries. Whenever we are rejected by others, even if it's people that we love very dearly, we can always take comfort in these two same things. We have a God who sees us. Even though the other person may be oblivious to the fact that you care for them so much and they're not returning the love, God knows what you're going through, and he knows the depths of your heart, and he knows the anguish of your heart as you experience that. And so he sees you. His presence is there with you. He's not a God who turns away and doesn't look at our pain. But he's also a God who hears. If we just pray to him and express our feelings and express our thoughts, we know that he will hear us. And he will either change the situation as he did with Leah, or he might just do a work inside of us that allows us to be able to adapt and be able to cope and be able to have comfort through the experience. But in either case, we know that we have a God who sees and a God who hears. And we should praise God that we have a God who sees. We have a seeing God, and we have a hearing God. We don't have a God like those fashioned by idols who cannot hear and cannot see. We have a God, a living God, a true and living God, a powerful God, a loving God, a compassionate God, a gracious God, a merciful God, who looks upon our lives and looks upon our life circumstances, and he cares. And he has an ear that is bent towards us, that listens to our complaints and listens to our cries. And he is willing and able to step into the situation, to make a difference, to change either the circumstance or change the heart, and in either case, bring us out better in the end. We need to praise God for that. So that's what I want to leave you guys with today in this devotion. If you do find yourself in an experience where you're rejected, even by those who you love, take comfort that you have a relationship with God himself. And if you have a relationship with him, as wonderful and great, and as powerful and mighty, and as glorious and holy as he is, we should not care so much about these other relationships, but take comfort in our relationship with him, and take all of our cares and concerns to him. Well, thank you guys for watching the video. Hopefully it's been helpful to you. Hope you guys have a great day. I love you guys. God bless.